report on that. There we go. All right. So last week, what I wanted to share with everyone, I'm really geeking out on this whole legislative process, and I'm starting to understand a little bit more, but there's still a lot that I have to learn. But one of the things that I found is how to track the bills so that once a bill is filed, then I think it has to go to judiciary, and then if it's passed there, then it goes to the committees. And then, so if you're tracking the bills, then you get an alert every time. So if you can see what committees these are going to, my thoughts are you can see who is in these committees and then be able to reach out to those people and say, listen, this bill is coming across your desk. This is why I think you should support it or not support it, whatever the case may be.
Let me add something to that.
Okay.
So, what we're talking about is that the bills themselves have a tracking system that Amanda's going to go through in more detail. Those are the results of the work that we've done. Those bills, the vast majority of bills filed, never make it to the finish line. The way you make a bill get to the finish line is in part by being engaged in advocating. So we want to make sure that the committee members know what the issues are around this bill. And so what we plan to develop is one-page fact sheets about the bills that give a quick, brief summary of the high points of what the purpose of the bill is and of what is to address. In that way, we're making sure that we are informing our legislators about what the purpose is. And that way, if we've already seen that in the early pre-session committees, where really good questions were being asked by legislators that came directly from the efforts of this group visiting people and others, educating them about the issues. And now we need to go, now those issues have turned into language, and now we want to be able to track the bill. So let's go ahead and talk that through. Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay, so can y'all see my screen that I'm sharing, the bill tracking? Okay, so Stephanie is amazing, and she put this together. So these are all of the bills that affect us or our children or the people that we care about with developmental disabilities, okay? All of these bills, which personally I think is pretty exciting because that's a lot of exposure, like people are taking notice. So let me see if I can get it right here. Sorry. Hang on, let me.
So these list of bills is on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you can see them as well. And when you see a House Bill 1447 with a companion bill, Senate Bill 1170 for the home and community-based waiver, that's the Stephanie bill.
Yes.
That's a good example of a bill that's also moved forward in the legislative process, in that there's a companion bill in the other house. So both the House and the Senate are looking at this bill. Mm-hmm. That makes it more likely that it has more success than a bill that's only introduced on one side and never gets taken up on the other side. Those all go and die.
Exactly. So I pulled this up. You do have to create a login for the tracking. So this is for the Senate side. And as you can see on the side over here, it'll have the little sun, red sun icon. And that's where you can track it. And you'll get emails every single time something is something is done with that bill. So if I go over here to,
So that means you're getting buried, starting to get emails, a notification on all these bills you're tracking.
correct. And you can track individual representatives or senators, so you can see what they're filing. You can track entire commissions, all of that good stuff. So these are all of the bills that I'm tracking.
And
So I
as you
basically
track them,
took,
how do you track them?
oh, sorry. So I get excited. Let's see, where was it? So you can go up here and you can type in the bill number. So 1047 and then go. So that brings up the bill. And then over here, it'll say track this bill, and then you just click on that and it will let you know everything that's going on. So I got an alert on,
Because you are a registered user, because you're a
mhm,
registered user, they now know that you're logged in and that tracks back to your email, right?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
So as you guys can see, on January 9th, I the it was filed on December 28th, and then on January 9th it was referred to these subcommittees and committees. So it had the first reading. So that's what's gone on with this bill. But what this also shows you is any related bills. So similar bills that have similar verbiage in them. Now, if you want to go even farther, you can click on these bills. So S obviously is for Senate, H is for House. And then you can click on those and see what the verbiage is in those. So if you
And
click
that's
on
the
that,
Senate, and that's the Senate companion bill that
mhm,
is on the other house. And so you can see how these are progressing, because if the language begins to change on one side from the other, and you get to the end, it has to go in the conference to be able to come up with a common language bill.
yes, exactly. So, but what this shows you is, what's going on with these different bills. So like I said, I went through there and went nuts and started just tracking everything. So I'm getting like 80 emails a day,
So
but you don't have.
one of the notices that you're getting, and you're going to do this and for the group, is you can then notify all of us when there's a scheduled committee hearing that we may not be able to attend in Tallahassee, and because it's not accessible, affordable, or realistic for everybody to go there. But
Mhm.
what we can do to continue to show our presence is to be able to then, you'll know who the committee members are in that hearing that's coming up to talk about the bill, and we can provide them proactive input before the committee meeting about that.
Yes, exactly. Because the other handy thing that they do on their website is here where it says Senate committee references. You can click on that hyperlink and it tells you exactly who is in or the members of that committee. So then you can click on this person and you get their contact information. So that's the meat and potatoes of what this group was based on, is reaching out to our legislators and trying to educate them on, because what I keep telling people is if you don't know, you don't know. We live these lives, we live it and we're consumed with it, but most people, they don't know unless someone tells them. And these are the folks that are making the decisions for our folks
Will this
and
bill
for
go
us.
forward? Will it still remain as intended? Will it get compromised in a way that actually does harm? That happens if we don't keep an eye on it. Now,
Mhm.
one of the things when we're talking about the We the People group and all the work that we've done, our first priorities was to meet our local legislator, build a relationship with it. What is now another challenge is now beyond the comfort zone of my local legislator, now we're going to start influencing other legislators that aren't from our district because maybe our representative's not on the committee. A knowledge. We've got some tools now. We plan on creating like a draft template that you all can use to send in input to their offices. You can customize it as you choose, but we just want to help give you, not create a lot of stress about this, but create tools that we can be effective. And the
Mhm.
truth is, the way it works in Tallahassee is, if it's only one person, it's not very important at all. But if it's 10 people, it becomes way more important. If it's 50 people, it becomes serious. And so we want to be one of those issues that is clear that we are not going away. We are informed by what we're doing. We are actively engaged in the political process by working through the legislative process. And that's where we are now, in the legislative process. So Amanda has committed to helping be the inundator of emails. But rather than you choose to do this, you can. But if not, we will help you say, okay, next week there's this. We'll use Stephanie's bill. Stephanie's bill has been assigned to committee, but it hasn't been scheduled yet for a hearing. She'll get notified when there's a hearing date. Now we know. Now we don't even necessarily have to wait for the hearing date if we know who those senators and representatives are. So we're talking on the House side right now. The um, Denise will put that link to those on the in the chat, so you pull them down from there live, and this stuff will all get updated on the website. This whole process, but this
I'm
is
on
what
it
we're
right
really
now.
trying to formulate. We really we really appreciate the DD Council giving us an opportunity to participate in DD Day in Tallahassee. But we also have to recognize that in our family, DD Day is every day. And so part of what we have to try to promote is an understanding of we're not just there one day to show our face. We're in the process, throughout the process, through the committees, making informed information, working with folks like the ARC and all the fact sheets that they created during our early sessions around the 800 million, around the revenue estimating conference and those types of things. Having that information along with our honest passion and our willingness to commit to see people opened a lot of doors. We can maintain that and expand that now we've got a 60-day session. We've got 55 days, 56 days left now. So the session is cranking along already. Okay. And it becomes very busy. What our first goal is to not let these bills die by being engaged and making them those representatives, those senators, to understand the importance of the issue, so it continues to be seen as something of merit to move forward. So do you have some more on that bill tracking you want to go through, or how are you on that?
That was basically the premise of that. I did add the websites for the House and the Senate in the chat. And Sylvia, I am answering your question right now as well.
So while you're answering that, why don't we start to talk a little bit about TD Day in Tallahassee? And we want to preface this by first saying we understand that from either caregiver demands, transportation, work conflicts, financial, there may be barriers to impossible to get there. And that's okay, because with the committee engagement, with the contact work we can do by email, by phone call, you can be plenty as effective than coming to Tallahassee. But DD Day is a special day where we have a great opportunity to be able to show numbers. So we have a table um, because we got invited by the Developmental Disabilities Council to be part of their DD Day. We are going to set up teams, and at the table, folks can check in there. And the idea is we're not hanging out at the table. The goal of coming to Tallahassee is to go meet those legislators, meet those legislative aides, provide them those one pagers, show that we are a group. Now, I know, having done this a lot in the past, not everybody's comfortable talking. Not everybody is comfortable. They've never been in the Capitol before, not sure how to get around, how to do it, what's the etiquette, and all those types of things. So in a couple of weeks before that, the meeting, before DD Day, we're going to host a couple of online trainings. We're going to create some content that shows basically how to lobby on a bill. We're going to talk about the process more so you understand how to be most effective and what to expect on DD Day, what the schedule will look like. We are working that out. We just had a very productive meeting yesterday with the Development Disabilities Council about the table and about the buses and how that would work on. And we're still getting the logistics of that information. And as soon as we have that, we will share that. But we know that we have a table that February 7th is DD Day at the Capitol, and that we will be arriving at 7:30 in the morning to set up the table, get ourselves all ready to go. And when you arrive, there will be packets of information on bills. And because we're doing more than just going to say hi to our local representative, that we want to do that too. We want to go meet the people that are in these committees that are working on this bill before it ever gets to everybody. It's got to get past the small group. So we focus on those few members of the committees to educate them and encourage them to support the bills. We can get input from their legislative aides and say, I have a question about this, and we can be very comfortable in saying, let me get back to you on that. Let me get your information and we'll get back to you. And then you bring that information back and we'll make sure that we provide information, because there are other people associated, like folks from the ARC, that have full-time paid lobbyists that are on the Hill every single day, and that can be a great aid in being able to help the nuances of a certain senator or representative that may need more detail, may need additional information, may need more data, may need things that we don't necessarily have ready access to or even are aware of. But because of that situation we're in, we're able to be effective by collaborating together. So this is a really important part of the We the People part, is that it's when you can make change, when we can make the system better, when we can make it more responsive, we have accomplished great things. And so our goals are fairly focused. We want a system that was intended to help to be more responsive, to be more effective. These types of bills, like Stephanie's bill, particularly talks about timelines around recognizing that a crisis really is a crisis, and it's not a slow, painful, bureaucratic process. It's an emergency. And you would never want to call the fire department and they say, well, we'll get back to you in 45 days and let you know if we're coming. And so when we can begin to take the language of a bill and convert it into stories that affect us, that's how this bill came to be. Stephanie telling the honest, gut-wrenching story of her own sons, and how painful the wait was, and how challenging the bureaucracy became. That story, just like the stories you've told, are the way that systems change, because then it becomes a real human being story. And we now have seen again the fruits of that labor in the language of the bills. So I encourage you all to take those bills. Now that you've seen there's a way to see the bill, go on, register, go to that bill, read the bill. Bill language is not like English. It's bill language. It's a whole nother language. But reading it, you can begin to see. And if you have questions that don't make sense, bring them up. Send back feedback to us. Send back. Let's make sure that we're doing it right and it's understandable. Because again, it's not just the 7th of February that we're going to be in Tallahassee. We're going to be in
Tom, may
Tallahassee
I ask?
every day.
Tom, may I ask very fast to Amanda and Fino how many have already confirmed for DD Day and the bosses and to be present in that table?
We're not at the place yet to have all those answers.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Because,
still
again, the
working on the
logistics of,
logistics.
Okay.
so we'll be seeing, so amongst this group, if you want to raise your hand and say, I'm coming, or you want to put in the chat, I'm coming, that's the beginning of a count. I know there's many people that'll be there, but I know there's some people on this call, as much as they'd want to be here, they're not going to be able to get there. They can't get away. I mean, I know what it's like to care for somebody every day, and you may not have that flexibility and freedom to do that. We're not going to say bad on you. We're going to say, here's a different way. Because your voice is important any way you can get there. Being able to connect, connect with those legislators through that, by what they are focusing on right now is these bills. So that's where we need to focus our attention, on the language that's in front of them, because they're not writing new bills right now. This is it. This is what's on the table. So now that this is on the table, let's make sure we're part of the right conversation. So by being able to provide focused input on these bills, we could be very effective. Because what happens when legislators begin to trust you, their aides will call you and say, hey, we're working on this amendment thing and we're looking on this language. What do you think? When you have that start to happen, man, you have hit some home runs. And so that's what we want to do. If we're angry, if we're yelling at them, if we're pounding on the desk, they're just going to go wacko and they're not going to want to listen to us. We need to be effective, calm, assertive, without arrogant, persistent without being annoying too much. And to be able to be effective, that's what it's going to take. And the squeaky wheel is through the language of our responses. When we're balancing, I'm not really comfortable with this word, like many of us have not been comfortable with unique abilities replacing disabilities for the agency with persons with disabilities. And just saying I'm uncomfortable is one thing. Putting in writing in public comment why I'm uncomfortable, why we don't think this is right, why we think it should be it muddies the water rather than clarifying the intent of the agency. That's my opinion. It might not be yours. But the point is, this is how we can now participate. And so that the whole intent of we the people, for the people, for all the people, all along, to engage participation in the processes, to not feel helpless, to not feel like we're just waiting for the other guy to do it to us, but instead saying, we can take leadership. We can be part of the solution. So the bill tracking, I encourage you to go to the website or go to our Facebook page. You see the page with all the bills. Identify the ones that are of interest to you or think that are of importance to follow. Read about them. Then you can see the committee members. Reach out now if you want. But you can also, if you want, we will be preparing some bullet point one-pagers that will be really helpful to you all. That is the bill analysis that is done to be able to help those folks that are looking, what's the technical impact of this bill? What's the fiscal impact? How does it change operations? What's the legitimacy of it? There's a lot of analysis that goes behind the scenes of the language of a bill. And it's important that we continue to be on top of it. So go ahead, Amanda.
I did post the tracker in the chat so that if you're not on Facebook or anything, then you can click on that and save it on your computer. I'll see if Jim can, because Mr. Jim Howard, who put us on his webpage, I'll see if he can put it on there as well.
There you go.
So it's exciting because we've gotten into our first week of session or gotten through the first week of session, and there's been a lot of movement on a lot of these bills. Unfortunately, I was busy at work today and I didn't have a chance to actually write down the ones that have been moving. I do know that the healthcare one is moving. I've seen stuff on that. I know Stephanie's bill is moving. I know for sure the which one was it? The decision-making one, there's been movement on that one, and I believe also the video cameras in public school classrooms. So I've seen some stuff going on with those.
Decision-making
And
pass.
so,
Yes, they got through judiciary with the unanimous yays. So
Yeah.
it's now in the first committee. So
so
go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, I was going to ask Margaret if you wanted to share any additional things about the tradition of DD Day and the council's engagement and how all that works. And again, thank you for welcoming us to share space with you.
Thank you, Tom. As far as bill tracking goes, I just wanted to say I put my first capital update out today. And I usually have an opening article and then I have a summary of the bills that we're tracking and supporting. And I add a little bit to it over the session, but I don't know if they posted it to the website yet, but you can sign up for my updates. And if you click on the link of the bills, it'll take you right to them to tell you where they are in terms of what committee and that kind of thing.
Can you
So
add
that's
that
kind of
information?
helpful. And I know ARC of Florida does something similar. So if you don't have time sometimes to build your own tracking list, like Amanda's done, then we have those options there for you.
I got that today. It was awesome. I didn't know you put that together. Thank you.
And the ARC also did it.
You
I
know,
go with both of them.
we see you all the time sitting in those committee meetings and back in the audience, Margaret, and appreciate that. And so we know that also the Family Cafe is hosting a Friday call at 4 o'clock that also talks about this. So there's a lot of opportunity to get
I'll
different
be
insights.
Tom, I'll be on that Family Cafe call, not today, but next Friday.
Good.
I'll
You're
be
going to be
there
one of the
today.
speakers. Good.
I come on once or twice a year for Joe.
And that's important. And, you know, Joe's an experienced a lobbyist, and he's really been a great asset to that organization. And the cafe does a lot of really effective work as well. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can collaborate and combine our forces in ways that can be effective. We are particularly free by the lack of constraints of any other organizational restrictions. We're just a freewheeling group of family members to kind of trying to make a difference. And that is a good place for us to be. But it's important to also collaborate with those, you know, Margaret, Family Cafe, the ARC, and others. You see that Aaron Eggel's on the call today. And Aaron, you're off quiet, but I'd like to invite you to make a few comments about what your observations have been about seeing this We the People form, because I know that you and I have been down this road for a long time, and I'd love to hear your feedback.
Well, of course, we've been down this road over and over and over again. It's just something that never stops. All we can do is combine forces work together, try and change things. And that's usually the way it works, is when groups of people get together to make things happen. I'll be more than happy to get the word out my way and make sure people hear from me.
Well, you're publicizing our information about the family stories and the one pagers of meeting people has helped bring some other people, and I appreciate your constant. You've been on the watchdog of this for decades now, and we appreciate your involvement and your support of us and what we're trying to do. And any other things you want to share?
No, it's just, it's good that we get groups of people that, want to make things happen. It's very important. We've learned over the years, if we work as a team, we can make things happen a lot better than just trying to work a small little, couple people or one business or one organization. But by combining forces, we can make a lot of things happen. So, again, I'll be more than happy to help and put some things out in the newsletters and for you and things like that. Because really it's just going to help us all.
Thank you so much. Will you happen to be up at DD Day?
I'll probably be there.
I look forward to seeing you then. And so, again, we are it feels late, but it's relatively in the early stages of our final planning for DD Day. If you can come, that's great. If not, again, accept the alternative, or in addition to being an email advocate through the committees and helping us navigate these bills through the session would be incredibly helpful. And that's really what we intended to cover today. And then we were going to open it up today, Lily, and anybody else that wants to talk. This is a really good time. So I open the floor.
Tom,
Just
I think
want
it's
to,
very important.
I just
Sorry.
want to go ahead and put my 2 cents in. I mean, I've been going up to Tallahassee
look at
for
you next.
20 years, going back probably 15, 20 years. And I've never seen so many bills be active when it comes to this population. So I'm grateful for what you guys are doing. Like, we don't want to keep on repeating ourselves, but it's amazing and important that you guys are involved, because like Aaron and everybody else on this call, on this meeting, it's amazing how important it is when you show up with a whole army, not just 4 or 5 people. And when you approach Tallahassee with this many people, there's definitely going to be a change. And I think we're headed in the right direction. And I really feel that once session is over, we got to continue this. Maybe not every week, but at least once a month, get together, see what's going on, see who's out there that we could help, and keep those reps and senators up to date on what's going on, because it's very important that we let them know that we're here now and we're not going away. And I think it's going to be a big difference this year. I really feel that things are going to happen, and just keep up the good work. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Pino. So one of the things I wanted to say really quick is I'm already thinking about next year, because it's an election year, or this year, well, next year. Anyhow, with all of the freshmen legislators that are going to be elected in November, my plan is basically the day after election day to make a list of all of those folks and start reaching out to them, because they're coming in brand new. And I'm very sad that my representative, this is his last term, or last year of his last term, and he is in leadership in the House. He's like third in line, I think, and he's leaving. And so now I'm going to have to deal with the new guy. And so that's the plan moving, or far down the line. I know we've got to get through this session.
We're not going anywhere. We're not
No.
going anywhere. We realize this is a multi-year approach, and that we've got their attention, but doesn't mean we're going to change the world at all. Right? We've got a lot of work to do. Alan, I saw that you had joined
Yeah.
Are you available? Or do you
Yeah.
have anything you'd like to share? And I'm happy to get back to you.
I'll tell you one thing that was unusual is the big healthcare bill that Pasadomo's running. It was filed in the House, the companion bill, House Bill 1549. 2 days ago, it already had a hearing today. That's about as fast as you get. The Senate has already finished all its committees. It's going to be on the floor next. So this bill will likely be completely done by the end of this month. I wouldn't be surprised if by February 1st, the rate increase issue will be done. And the difference right now is the Senate has a 10% rate increase and the House has a 3.5 rate increase. I believe the House will go to the Senate side on that. The House has not gone to the Appropriation Committee, which is next in their place. But that's the most obvious bill that's going to resolve quick. If you remember, Pasadomo did a bill last year. Her priority was housing, and her bill was the first bill that passed, I think, in session. And this is her priority this year. So I just wanted you to know that. And the other one that's looking really good is supported decision making. It's already passed in the House and the Senate in the first committee. But the good news is the Florida Bar finally is supporting the bill. So there's no one against it for the first time. So I just wanted you to know that. And other than that, not many bills have actually been heard, but that starts up next week, I think.
And thank you, Alan. And as you all produce any kind of one-pagers or fact sheets on anything that we can utilize, we'll look for that. And as always, thank you so much for your support, and we look forward to seeing you up at DD Day.
We have asked our lobbyists to see if they could get a big room for the group, so we have a place to go when there's breaks. And I'll let you know at the next call what our lobbyist tells us. But he's calling some people and see if we can get a large room.
So that's the kind of logistics we're still trying to work through on DD Day. So stand by on that. We've already established the importance of our bill tracking and being able to be responsive. So we can be engaged in that. We're getting good updates on what's happening on the floor. And then Hebby, what do you got to say today?
Hi, Tom, that I agree 200% with you that today I got the update from Margaret and from Alan, and I was like, thankfully they are doing this. So yes, we have limited resources, especially parents that have to take care for our children. So I think it is good what you're saying, to not duplicate the work so that we can be more effective and not drown ourselves in so many things. I really, with Margaret Hooper and Art and Alan, I feel like I am very well informed. I used to do what I started like Amanda, checking in myself, and I was, oh my God, no, I cannot do this. So I appreciate a lot the job of the ARC and Florida Developmental Council, because it means a lot to me.
It can be definitely overwhelming, especially with many bills going on.
And having the Energizer Bunny down for the day, having Stephanie having to actually help care for herself for once in a while is hard, but she has been an incredible resource and an asset to all of us and everybody on this page. Thank you, Alan, for your help today, and good luck with your next meeting.
Yes, thank you, Alan. Also, just real quick, since you're talking about Stephanie, I did want to let everybody know that she is doing well and was still in surgery the last time I checked in with her friend that's helping her.
So anybody else got any more contributions for today? We got about 10 minutes before our time is up.
Lily, where are you? Tell me who the senators are that you've talked to.
The congressmen that are willing to meet with us in Washington, and that goes to, and I said the gentleman because I don't know your name, Tom, the co-founder of this group.
Yes.
I was not aware of his name. As you guys know, this is only my second meeting.
Yes. And we thank you for being here.
I thank you all for starting it, and I thank you all for doing the work that we all do, because we're all in this together.
Exactly.
We're in one boat. We all have a child with a disability. The senators that I have, the congressman that I have spoken to has been Moskowitz. Oswood called me, Oswood called me this morning, which is the email that I forward you from her aide, who is interested in having a Zoom meeting and also to make an appointment for D-Day. I was at D-Day last year. And that's why I said in our last meeting that we must make appointments or they will not see us. So it's Moskowitz, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Wasserman Schultz.
Yes, and Raskin and Goldman.
Lily,
They've
do you
asked
have
me.
specific legislative concerns you're asking them to address? What would you specifically be asking them to do after you meet with them? What do you want from them?
Well, it would be, I need people behind me, like we all said. One person, you even said this yourself, one person is not gonna make a difference. So if we approach them, not just with my issue, but with everyone's issue, whatever we can't get resolved on D-Day or from our own legislators, we have to take it further. But my issue is the representative part of CDC plus. I don't want to approach that. I'm sorry, my dogs. I may not want to approach that because I don't want to add to Stephanie's bill and, you know, have that killed or anything like that. So I could probably wait for next year. But I want to meet with congressmen because if ours are not working, but it's not just for my issue, it's for all of our issues, whatever issues you guys want me to talk, you know, us to talk about and me to tell them, hey, this is what I want. But right now I don't have anything that I would like to put a bill on except for the CDC plus.
So I'm saying is,
So you all tell me
one
what
of
I need
the-
to tell them.
So for instance, if there is a specific in CDC, using CDC as an example, consumer care clause, as an example, understanding the legislative language that may require that and requesting specific changes to that language is what they will look for. Or if you can give them good.
Well, Tom, I think we lost you.
Margaret, you got something to say?
Margaret wants to say something. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Margaret.
The disability policy seminar is coming up April 8th to 10th in Washington. And it's put on by the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities, of which we're a member, and also the ARC of the United States, and a couple other disability groups that are escaping me. But they have, you know, expensive hotel rooms, but they are discounted. And they have sessions of how to go talk to your representatives. But I think two big things that are going on right now that's an umbrella for everyone is making sure they don't cut Medicaid in general, because that pays for most of the supports for people with developmental disabilities. And there's been several bills over the past couple of years to put an influx into home and community-based service waivers in all the states. I think there was a $430 billion proposal that they had to give up on this year. It was kind of a human infrastructure bill, but it would have really added to money to encourage people to come off the wait lists in their states. So those two things are important when you talk to your state reps and senators.
The one of maintaining Medicaid and the one of getting people out of the waiting list. Those are the 2 points, Margaret.
Sorry, AB. There's been bills off and on. I don't know if there's one right now, but it's been that's one thing about going up to the disability policy seminar. They'll have it on their website. They'll have it there for you to figure out the latest on that particular issue.
Okay.
And Margaret, you know, are those sessions recorded or are they actually something that's rebroadcast or that we could use as a insightful training vehicles?
Yeah, but you have to register like $300 to have access to that.
Okay, can you share the information to us on that? One of us may do that,
Yeah, I'll do that.
because then we can be a conduit to that. Because Lily, your passion is impressive, and the need to be able to focus in some, effective change approaches is maybe where we were might not have understand each other for a second, but I can see your passion is true and pure,
yeah.
and the resources of things like the DD councils and in some of the web-based information that can help us really be effective. I'm going to spend next Tuesday and Wednesday working with Equality Florida. And one of the areas that we're focusing on is the attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's certainly an issue that is not limited to the LGBTQ community, but affects across our community just as well. And it has been, but part of why I bring that up is that is an incredibly organized, well-funded nonprofit that has very serious approach to this. And so that we're modeling some of our approaches on what they are spending thousands and thousands of dollars of staff time to develop. We're going to take advantage of that. I'll be working registration on Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got team captains that'll be set up. Each team will have a captain that will help people get around. There'll be members of the team that are basically going to be a reporter and be the photographer when there's like a photograph with the legislator afterwards. There'll be somebody that is the storyteller that can connect to the bill. And then there will be someone that is an expert on the bill content that is there to answer questions. Because when we get an appointment and there's 10 of us, we're not each going to get 5 minutes to talk to that legislator. We're going to get 5 or 6 or 7 minutes for all of us. And so if we want to be the most effective, we have to be organized in order to do that. So the goal will be to be able to have people identify, and we'll do this before we get to Tallahassee. What role do you want to take? What bills are of yours of passion? And here's the teams that'll be working the halls on these couple of bills. Here's the ones the other. You'll also have time to be able to visit your old individual legislators and check in. But remember, at this stage of the game, very few of the whole legislator are looking at the bills. It's the committees now, and that's where we need to focus our energy. So I hope that today has helped bring some insight as to what all the good work you have done has brought to today, how we take that to the next level, some of the supports that we are in the process of building right now, that to be able to support these efforts. We're excited for those that can join us in Tallahassee. We'll have more information next week, more detail about that than we have today about transportation. I also encourage you all to carpool, because the thing about Tallahassee is it's a long way from everywhere, and it's a long day, and it's a really long day. I've drove from Clearwater up to Tallahassee, worked the day at the session, and drove back home, and that's a 16-hour day. So, again, that may not be in your realm of availability, and we respect that. So take this opportunity to thank yourselves for what you've done. Be prepared for the next round of it. Keep an eye out for the emails. And Amanda, any closing words before we go?
If I may just say one thing,
Absolutely.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
The equality, that's also very dear to my heart, as my son, my older son, my son is gay. So all those, whether it's special needs or the equality for that's I'm very passionate about that. So what the Medicaid that Margaret spoke about, all of those things that you guys are more coordinated on and probably more educated than me, hand it to me. I'm not afraid of speaking to anyone. I'm not afraid of making the phone calls. I'm not afraid of pushing my way through the door. I'm really good at it.
But we don't want you
But
to
for
get a
me-
restraining order, Lily, so.
I don't mean that, guys. I mean very
Alright.
diplomatically.
We
very
don't have an account for
diplomatically.
bail money, guys, okay, so.
Right, no, very diplomatically. I don't get, you get more with honey than you do with, but I'm
100%.
not one, I don't just say, they say no and I'll be like, okay, yeah, no, I'll make my point and I'll push for my point. Four of my uncles were attorneys. I'm not afraid of those things. Where
Right.
people, like Tom was saying, are a little more shy. They don't feel comfortable in speaking in some settings. That's not my thing. So
I
I'm
love you. I'm glad
Well,
you're here,
Lily,
Lily.
you wrapped it up really well for us.
Yes,
Amanda, you pulled it off today. Thank you so much for everybody that's on board.
Thank you,
We will see you
everyone.
next Friday, 6 o'clock. Participate in the other group activities as you can. And thank you for caring. Have a great day.
thank you.
you.
Have a great weekend.
You too, you too.